The game is beginning. We are here.
You're gonna give them extra mod points. I don't know what mods in Speci's chat get, but we are dropping into the first matchup. REDRAME is on blue and Sif is on red, and it's unsurprisingly Skellige on blue. We talked about this Urboros versus Lined Pockets on red.
Yeah, this is going to be a really interesting matchup. The tunnel drill, of course, can be huge with bounty against these big Skellige boys. And we're definitely going to be looking at REDRAME's mulligans here, because previously you might mulligan this Ice, this Herald, but with no guarantee to getting them, it could be a bit risky. But we've got one Scald in hand for REDRAME, that's going to be important. The Jutta gets mulligan, she's going to be the main leader target, of course. And on the other side, Sif, no Justice by the looks of things, but does have a single Safecracker.
He did the sensible thing and mulliganed his Flying Redanium. Like, Sif knows, he knows how to mulligan. How do you feel about REDRAME's hand here? So he opted to kick Harold, but keep Iced, which I like, personally.
Yeah, I think Ice is that card that when you need it, because you're forced to use your leader ability as well. And if there's a moment you really want to use your leader and you don't have Ice, you're just throwing points down the drain. And seeing as he has this Mask of Ouroboros, he has the Scald, there's some thinning guaranteed. So I agree, it makes sense to keep the Iced over the Herald. You don't want your hand to be too good, but of course mulliganing both cards is just a recipe for disaster with no access to burner and things like that.
REDRAME playing pretty swiftly in that first turn. This is something you occasionally see players do in tournaments, especially when they feel quite confident. They tend to jam cards. Whereas other players, sometimes you'll see them start off slow, and then as they get more nervous, begin to jam cards to kind of keep up with their opponents. And you see REDRAME once again, very quick off the mark with his Hunter play there.
Yeah, absolutely. The less time you spend making your move, the quicker the clock is back on your opponent to try and make a decision. Look at this sad Safecracker, Jag. Just 5 points. And it's not going to get any taller. This is it for the Safecracker. And that is quite a fall from grace. Still a good card. And there's the mask into the skirm as well. REDRAME, it's all going well for him so far.
Mm-hmm. It's worth pointing out, he's not only is he not getting any taller, he is in fact getting smaller. You know, with the Hunter ping there, whittling him down once again. He's getting even smaller. Oh man, he's going to be a quarterling in a couple minutes. Like, it's not looking so good for him.
And if we're looking at Sif's hand as well, quite a lot of golds. This second Safecracker not looking like much of an appealing option either. Now, REDRAME, 10 points to the good here. Does have the option to pass and then put the onus on Sif. However, round control seems to be his objective here, and he can play this Scout to thin his deck. Will he go for the Skirm, or will he save this Skirm for a rainy day? He does play it. He wants the tempo for round one.
There's also nothing you really want to discard in your hand, right? You know, if you don't discard the Skirmisher, you basically have to discard the Raider. And, you know, Raiders are pretty nice. He already has a Raider in the graveyard anyway. So if, you know, he goes for a Resurrection line, that's already established. And Sif just, you know, respecting the amount of tempo here. He played 3 cards. 3 pretty bad cards, I would say. This 5-point Halfling, for example. Got some profit, got some carryover, and it's just pieced out the round.
Far from ideal start for Sif. Not getting his full carryover, as you mentioned, and also not thinning the ship. So definitely not an ideal start for the man here. However, that's just the way it goes. The round one hand wasn't looking too hot. And on REDRAME's side, he's found the Coral. And has also found that Herald again, Jag, which is going to be music to his ears.
That is a stacked hand. Like, REDRAME's hand is glowing. 1 bronze card. He's got 9 gold cards and 1 bronze card. Which, you know, you like to see, I suppose, if you're the Skellige player, you like to see that. Whereas for Sif, he does have a lot of gold, but there's a little bit of awkward things going on. You know, things like this one of poison. He's got 1 Sea Jack. Oh, there's another poison. So I spoke too soon.
Yeah, finding that second poison is great. This Furka usually is going to be tied to Justice, as you do need a Safecracker down on the board. Sorry, a Crown Splitter down on the board for your Justice to work properly and get full value. So mulliganing the Justice and playing it through Furko is quite a common strategy because it guarantees that happening. REDRAME starting aggressively in this round 2, Jag, with the Totem as his proactive play.
I think when your hand is as good as REDRAME's, you maybe do want to sniff out a bleed. We do not want to leave the match.
No, we don't. That wouldn't be ideal.
Yeah, let's not do that. But Sif respecting the ability, the power of the totem, going for the Furco with the Novigradian Justice, which is a little bit of tempo of his own. It's getting these Crown Splitters on the board. It's creating pockets. And as everyone knows, lined pockets by name and lined pockets by nature. They love themselves some pockets.
This 8-for-4 Savage Bear, of course, synergizing very nicely with the Scar package as well. There was a Savage Bear in the graveyard, so we're going to get that double charge. Very, very nice value indeed. I just want to take a quick moment to talk about the Gremist in REDRAME's deck. Certainly not a card you'd expect to see very often on ladder. It's a very definite tech choice for REDRAME, perhaps fearing decks with Defender such as Keltalis, but also Commandos. We've seen quite a lot on ladder using a Defender too. So very, very impressed to see the Gremist. And look, it's not just for Defenders, Jag, because here it's finding more value yet again.
Yeah, working out really nicely for REDRAME, and he's quite happy to snap that. Removing the Doomed also. Don't think it makes much difference whether that unit is doomed or not, but, just so it's in the graveyard should it become necessary at some point. And it's also just a nice 6-point play, right? He's got a healthy lead here with the bleeding from that Savage Bear. It's 22 points to 9 effectively at this stage, so he's quite comfortable at the moment. And Sif still hasn't thinned his Redanian.
Yeah. This is one thing as well for Sif. If you look at this Sea Jackal play, it's not a bad play. But if you're playing line pockets, for example, you would be able to play a Sea Jackal from your leader when you need it, while also still playing a card from your hand. Perhaps making your sequencing a little bit cleaner. That's just another advantage that this line pockets deck, the Pirates Cove deck.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think you mean Pirates Cove.
Yeah, so it's interesting, like, Pirates Cove is a lead ability that's really been written off. So it's quite interesting to see the differences between the line pockets and Cove. But REDRAME does take this pass. He sees the Sea Jackal and he's had enough. He's got a gold hand. Fancies his chances in a long round.
Yeah, I think it's a fair pass. You don't really want to be playing Coral until you have Burner, right? Because the whole point is you need to discard some stuff. So it's nice to have that synergy. You've gotten 1 poison out of him, which is nice. He hasn't thinned his Redanian either, and there's still quite a big gap. So you're kind of putting Sif in a little bit of an awkward position with how he makes up these points. And again, unable to thin that Redanian. And he's going to have to click again.
Yep. Far from ideal. I'm beginning to doubt myself, Jag, that there's a flying Redanian in the deck. I'm starting to doubt myself because we still have not seen it. But it seems unthinkable not to. I assumed it was there because it's such a great card, especially with the Safecrackers. It's a gold card you want a mulligan, which makes your Safecrackers a bit taller. And it is there, but leader charges just take away 2 points, 3 damage from draw, essentially, those 2 leader charges being invested there.
And you do carry it over, but you're not carrying over both of those charges. You're only carrying over one of them, right? So it's really not what you want to be doing in that situation. But Sif just valuing the thinning more than the leader charges, which I think is a fair choice. If he clicked again, he would have kept Redanian, he would have drawn into Redanian, and ultimately, once Redanian's in the graveyard, it can be thinned anyway.
We've got a round 3 Jacques. He's got that Veil. He's also going to get an extra point every time you play a Firesworn. He's going to gain a coin. And on the other side, Jutta in hand for REDRAME. Far from ideal. Of course, that's going to be the main leader target. And with no cards such as Snowdrop in Devotion Warriors, that Jutta is not going anywhere. She is here to stay. Can be discarded. But yeah, not ideal for REDRAME there.
No, not ideal. And you could see he was thinking about that mulligan. He took his time with it coming down towards the wire. And ultimately decided he felt he needed it. And not, I think, the target that he wanted to find. No Burner Bran in hand also makes Coral just a little bit more sad. And Sif is wasting no time in making pocketses, but REDRAME quickly answering with Morkvarg.
Yeah, Cleaver not having that armor anymore means he's very, very susceptible to these red ships, but REDRAME's not playing those anymore. The Morkvarg interaction is still the same. It's just going to clean up that Cleaver nice and easily. But if there was a 5 damage card in REDRAME's hand, Skjordal, maybe that could have also been an option, but no Skjordal available for him. So takes the Mork.
Yeah, just some, I guess, less favourable draws going into this round 3, and Sif now opting to play down Jacques with his Veil, get his Tribute, get his Footman, and just get some value onto the board.
And we are just jamming the cards here. REDRAME developing his Herald, pinging off the shield from the Crown Splitter here. Now, of course, these Crown Splitters are going to be needed for Sif in order to get the 3 damage from his drill. He's already played Justice, and he's already played the Cleaver, so there's not going to be access to any more Safecrackers. He doesn't even have a Gourd in his deck. So these are all the Crown Splitters available. So you're going to be looking for Sif here to really accelerate, maybe play his Siggy to try and set up a nice drill. And for REDRAME, he might just be trying to clean up this Crown Splitter on the left with that Herald ping.
Yeah, he needs money in the bank, like now. This is the thing. He needs the money for the drill, but he doesn't have it, so he has to play Siggy. And that gives REDRAME a turn to kind of think about how he wants to do this. And bear in mind, the Blaze of Glory, it's not going to discard a 12. It's not going to hit something super tall, but it's still available to him should he wish to try and remove some pockets. But Sif, you know, he's still stolen. He doesn't think that maybe REDRAME's going to go for it, and instead playing Wholesome Jr. there with his bathtub full of dead people. How wholesome on the background.
And this is quite a change from last season, Jag, because Whoreson, when we've seen him before, wasn't able to damage units which weren't boosted. He could only damage boosted units, but now his Devotion payoff, and of course Sif is playing this Devotion deck, is able to just deal 6 damage regardless of whether it's boosted or not. And that is going to mean that if you're playing Whoreson, you don't have to ban Skellige. But what a big moment. The Turgvi isn't going to be able to clean up this Crown Splitter. The Rupture, of course, being a status means it can be purified, but that means Kurt is going to have to be used defensively, not offensively, for a bounty.
I think it's worth salvaging the pocket, though. The pocket does so much for Sif, and you know the bounty is nice because there are tall targets though, like Turgvi. So it's a real catch-22. You're not really in a great position either way. One thing REDRAME doesn't have going for him at the moment is injured units. There is no Bloodthirst going on. Harold has hit an armor and Harold has hit a shield, so Harold's not doing his Harold thing, and Kurt deciding that he, I guess, respects the pocket too much to want to lose it, using Kurt proactively there to purify.
Yeah, absolutely. And even though this has been purified, this Turgvi is still valuable for REDRAME as it has denied that bounty. Bounty in combination with Drill essentially just extends the bank of the Syndicate player, because they've got all the coins in the bank as well as coins waiting to be gained on the board. So the bounty and Drill, just a devastating combo, especially against Skellige with these tool cards such as Turgvi and Gerd.
And the thing is, REDRAME, he's not really too worried about floating things because Sif doesn't have money in his lined pockets. He doesn't really have much money in the bank. It means that REDRAME can kind of put things like Coral on the board and say, you know what, you can try and kill that this turn with your Tunnel Drill, but that's all you're getting. You're getting 4 coins worth of damage. Whereas if you wait, I'm going to be able to trigger this Coral. So you're kind of, again, stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Dip in the Pontar coming from bank is going to fill the bank up a little bit. And in combination with the Whoreson on the board, spending 3 coins, cleaning up that proactive Coral REDRAME went for, punishing him, you could argue. However, Coral also discards a card before she draws one. So maybe REDRAME just didn't want to discard any cards in his hand. And yeah, Whoreson just cleaning up. And the Gerd as well, setting up the Bloodthirst 3 for Iced.
It's just so good, you know, it's just so good.
Now, if this Coral stuck on the board as well, Coral could have been used at the same turn as Iced. So you could, this Coral would have been down, then the Gerd would have come in, and then Ice would come in, and you could discard with Coral, and that would mean you're also proccing your Ice even further. So some really nice synergy potentially there. Finally, the Siggy comes down. The Drill is ready to go. It's activated. It's ready. Ice is going to come down. Hop decking a Scald is probably the last thing you'd like to see.
No, and the thing is, you have to then make a decision about what you want to do with your Ice. How are you going to proc it? What do you want to discard if you use your leader? I'm assuming he's going to kill the pocket. It would make the most sense. Oh no, opting to kill the engine instead, killing Jacques, so allowing the pocket to remain. But that's not really how Iced is, you know, the best. That was a mediocre Iced.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, not killing the pocket, but going for the spender instead. Now, the fact that Drill is in hand for Sif, and there's not a very good answer at all. Now, this Raider is going to have a Zeal, and then the Bear Witcher will deal 3. So, REDRAME is going to be able to clean the Drill up, but it's probably just going to take too long. It's probably not going to be relevant by that point. And in Sif's hand, also having this Philippa is another way of spending coins. But there's an 18-point gap in REDRAME's advantage. Of course, 13 coins for Sif waiting to be spent.
And those coins have a really nice coin-to-point ratio between Philippa and the tunnel drill. So although there is a big gap, if you look at REDRAME's hand, he's got a Skjold, right? It's not a good play. It's not a lot of points. He's got his church, the Holy Church, that he could potentially play, but again, it's not super exciting. And then a Raider. So hand power is very much in favor of Sif at the moment.
And Sif not completely spending with his drill and inviting REDRAME to Skjordle his drill and just remove it from the board, perhaps signaling that there is the Philippa in hand. But of course, REDRAME doesn't have that Skjordle, so he's not going to be able to just clean this drill up in one turn, and instead just damaging it down, meaning that this drill can probably kill this Bear Witcher and the warrior and deny this Kadooch heal value.
Yeah, the tunnel drill staying alive does mean that these injured units aren't likely to get healed. You know, you're losing value on your Kadok, which is it's just painful. And the points are still fairly highly in favor of REDRAME, 46 to 33. But with 4 points in pocket, with money in the bank, with Philippa, I think this is going to be a close game.
Yeah, this Scald for REDRAME just looking like the worst possible draw he could have found. But it's not all over. Let's see what Sif decides to go for. Will he just use the Philippa now? It would make sense to get some profit. And then Philippa, the tallest unit possible. But this drill as well is tempting. Bit of an issue with spenders and coin flow, Jag. He would have loved maybe just another way of profiting in his hand, or a gourd finisher rather than a finisher that's spending coins.
But not opting to... I guess opting just to do 2 points of damage. One thing we haven't seen from REDRAME is the Skjordle, so he could potentially play the Skjald into the Skjordle, discard the Raider, and that's going to give him a little bit more oomph from his last card.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of depends a little bit. I feel like the Skjald is going to pull Berna, though. If I was a gambling fan, that's my prediction. Here comes Berna.
There is also a Morkvarg, so a Morkvarg would be... an extra 5 points. So the Scald into the Morkvarg would be a 9-point play. So that would be the most ideal, of course. Just take the Raider to clean up the drill. I like that.
Oh. So basically just passing on the risk that you could have pulled a Berna and instead deciding that maybe he feels he doesn't need the points. To win, but Philippa going to spend all the way down from 8 to 0, snatching Gerd. But only 46 points, meaning that the raw Skjald, who pulled a Hunter, by the way, was enough.
Yeah, that could have been quite a finish if that 5 points from Morkvarg mattered, Jag. REDRAME wouldn't have done it, and does take it. Just a reminder, Jag, as well, we are 2 games away, potentially, from seeing REDRAME go flawlessly through a top 16 qualifier. That would be quite a statement. I have no idea if it's ever been done before. I highly doubt it, to be completely honest. But that would be quite something, and we are ready to jump in to the second game of the series. REDRAME 1-0 up over Sif Great Wolf.
And this time we see once again a Skellige versus Syndicate matchup. But the coins have flipped, the players have flipped, and now we see the... Flurry versus the Pirates Cove. So 2 very different lists from the last 2 we saw. And we'll have to see how this turns out.
We've got a Lambert in hand for Sif, but I must admit, Jag, all eyes on this Pirates Cove deck. The master playing it, the man that created it, and the man that's done so well with it. Very excited to see how he plays this deck. Pirates Cove being a leader, if you've not seen it before, that's going to spawn 2 Sea Jackals. It recently got reworked. No profit in that. So if you can get last say with 2 Sea Jackals and a full bank, that's a lot of uninteractive points. And Sif as well, his Reckless Flurry has been reworked. It's now dealing 3 damage, ignoring armor, and you can do that 3 times.
And it's worth knowing, when you said that it spawns 2 Sea Jackals, it's charges, right? It doesn't just give you 2 spenders right at the same time. That wouldn't be so good. Then you'd be like, why is that good? Why would he need 2 Sea Jackals? But it's charges, so you can get a spender when you want one. It means you can pop one on the board and then play, say, a profit card, so you stop yourself from over profiting as well, which is a really nice flexibility about it.
Yeah, exactly. And previously, Pirates Cove was not seeing any play. It was spawning a Sea Jackal and it was giving you, I believe, 4 coins profit. Whereas now it's just much more flexible, because if you're at that 9 coins, if you're going to over profit, you just play the Jackal. You're not going to overspend anymore. It just seems a lot more convenient. Maxi from Sif is an opening play. That means he might know what's being drawn with this Mask of Ouroboros, and REDRAME just coming straight in with that Fist Tech, staying uninteractive, and that is something this Pirates Cove deck is certainly going to try and do. Just be annoying, not put any points on the board for as long as possible.
Yeah, Maxi in this list, it just makes your thinning that much safer, because you know what you're going to draw into, or if you shuffle, you know you've made life better. So it means you can afford to play this strategy, play the Scald, for example, there. He drew into the Gutting Slash and then discarded it. He knows what he's going to get with Burner, so you can pick the best discard targets, because you're not thinking, oh, you know, what if I draw into cards I don't want to discard, for example.
And REDRAME doesn't have that option to stay interactive in this hand. Maybe if a second Fist Tech was available to him, he could have taken that. But using one of his thinning cards, he's playing both of the 5 provision thinning cards, the Sewer Raiders and the Cut-Ups. And I do believe this might be the best that Lambert will be in this matchup. So we could see a round 1 10-point Lambert. Not what you're looking for, but Lambert really, except he's going to be a bit lackluster in a lot of matchups and just completely game-winning in others, particularly against monsters.
It's one of those things where you kind of have to decide if you want to make hay while the sun shines. You know, Sif has to decide with the sequencing, is there something I need to do in round 1 before my opponent passes? You know, if there is, you maybe want to do that. But if there isn't, you could potentially choose to play the Lambert here and get maximum value out of it. But actually, he's decided that he needs to continue thinning the deck. He wants to play these discards, use the Mask of Ouroboros, and then get value from Gerd while there's units still on the board.
That's a lot of tempo from Sif. Is he potentially lining up a tempo pass? Will REDRAME see it coming? Does he fancy a long round, or what does he fancy? I would say if I was playing against Pirates Cove, my main ambition would be to win round 1. And the reason for that is with round control, you can try and gain last say. And but deciding Sif goes for the tempo pass line. He does take it. And that means if REDRAME can't do it in 1 card, we are going to go to a long round 3 with REDRAME having last say. And he is just going to play 2 cards to do it.
Yeah, I think with that situation, Soul, he plays for, 10 odd points, so you kind of have to. But this way, you're also denying value from Lambert, right? You've played your Casino Bouncers, you've thinned all your pairs of cards, so it means that Lambert's not going to be quite as good. But you're now 5 cards to 7, so you don't have the opportunity to bleed in round 2 nearly as easily.
Yeah, so we'll have to reflect on this at the end of the game if this tempo pass was worth it. Essentially, what a tempo pass stops happening is it stops a round 2. It really stops round 2 being played at all, because REDRAME has had to play all his cards to get ahead, and that means he's just going to be dry passing straight onto round 3.
No, he didn't have to. He didn't have to play the Fist Tech there because Soul was going to boost up. But he opted to play the Fist Tech to thin the Redanian and go up to 9 coins, knowing that he's just going to dry pass in round 2. So rather than hold on to the Fist Tech, use it to thin the Redanian, go to max coins, and then it means that going into round 3, you draw back up to 10 cards. So there was a decision made there, rather than just be like, right, I've got the points, so I'm going to pass. He opted to play a card because he had the flexibility to do that.
Right. And also, if you look at REDRAME's hand here, as a Syndicate player, even if you don't play all the way into round 2, you do like to make a few plays before that 7 card mark, such as, for example, a Swindle, where you can get your full profit up to 9 coins, because that's going to be maximum carryover. Also, this location of his is a resilient card. The Horse is going to be giving Ewald more damage if in the graveyard. So there's a few things that this tempo pass is denied from REDRAME, but we do go into a long round 3. REDRAME with last say.
I just heard you call him Horse. I don't know if the T was really quiet.
I think I did call him Horse. Yeah,
you
I do know
Horse. You definitely
I have played Hearthstone, so he's
this
one
Horse. I'm like, he doesn't have a horse.
And we have a little bit of a rivalry with the brothers here, because not a complete set of brothers in the hand of REDRAME. He's got one of each. And on the side of Sif, has the Burner, has a Skirm and the Mork, the Dora Grey, Heatwave, Axie, lots of tool punishes. But REDRAME, his spenders aren't going to go tall apart from these Sea Jackals and the Jack. So I could easily see this Axie, this Heatwave, not being very good because REDRAME has last say with double Sea Jackal.
And it's maybe just a wee bit too much in that regard. REDRAME, though, he's only going to be able to find, you know, one pair of brothers with the Vivaldi Bank. He did miss quite a lot. Professor in there, Boris
really
as well.
Did. Yeah.
Not exactly the way that he maybe wanted this hand to play out. Opening up here with horse with horse for Soti.
And this horse...
and just getting a little bit of money.
He's looking very sad, Jag. If you compare this to a... There is a 4 provision card in REDRAME's hand. Okay, it's got a devotion payoff that is playing for the same amount of points as this horse. It's not a spender, but not a great start for the Basodi brothers in this first game for REDRAME.
No, I don't think they're doing quite as hot. And meanwhile, we see Sif is just jamming points. He's played his totem. He's played Burner plus his 2 discards. One thing not so hot there, or maybe actually is so hot. I was going to say not so hot is the Squirrel, but with Redanian still in the graveyard, actually, Squirrel is a perfect draw. And here it comes to eat the Redanian and deny 3 points of power from REDRAME.
Squirrel just never disappoints. I remember when this card was revealed, didn't see it getting any play, but it's just been a staple ever since the Master Mirror expansion for non-devotion decks.
I disagree. When I play Squirrel always disappoints. Like, I never have the Squirrel when I need it. And then I'm like, should I take this risky round 3 mulligan? And I mulligan, I get a Squirrel. Like, I'm very disappointed in this Squirrel.
So, a new card entering the board I'm sure many of you have never seen before. This is, I believe, I want to say it's Roland. It's one of the Blainheim brothers. And this is going to, every time a unit is poisoned, it's going to gain 2 coins for REDRAME. Unless, of course, it gets locked, and then that is irrelevant. So,
yeah, it was Roland, for the record.
And
you guessed correctly. You're 50-50 passed.
Dora Grey, one of the starter cards as well for new players. It's a neutral card, and it's still seeing play at the highest stage. So that's really cool to see. Of course, the lock's getting buffed quite recently, down to 6 provisions, Dora Grey being a neutral. Jengi is an extra point, of course, but does require that Bloodthirst. And in this situation, Dora Grey was just better because the lock access was guaranteed. But again, the leader could have been used from Sif. So you could actually argue that this was a point worse than maybe a Jengi in this situation.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. We see Mutants Maker now destroying an allied unit, getting coins, but obviously it's a devotion list, so it doesn't destroy anything, just gains some coins, trying to get up, you know, a little bit of profit and give you some flexibility in what you play. This is one issue with Syndicate, is sometimes you need to take the time to just make some money so that you can then start to have more options. You know, the start of the round is often very telegraphed, shall we say. And Sif picking a nice big target there with the 7-point Roland for his Rupture.
Yeah, we also just saw that Jacques gaining an extra coin as well due to its devotion payoff, and this Mutants Maker having the Fire Swan tag. So the first leader charge from REDRAME coming in, just playing a Jackal, spending once, making use of that Horde value. Not going to want to go taller than 7, it looks like, because he's expecting tool punishes, of course. His Jacques already being at 7. Horse as well, though, was an option to spend here. So a little bit surprised not to see the Horse come in and maybe trying to save this Sea Jackal. But
I think he's maybe wanting both brothers, right? And there's Ewald right on top.
The Professor is going to be the card that comes in. No need for that tribute. Now, Professor just putting a bounty and dealing 4 damage, instantly being able to gain coins, or in this case, setting up the kill with Horson. But that Axie denying, and REDRAME's Professor has been completely shut down here. Professor just playing for 10 points when it's a guaranteed 14 on a Squirrel.
And he took a risk there. REDRAME, I think he felt he needed to kill that to win this round. You don't take that risk unless you feel like you need it. Not a chance. Not a chance.
Wow. That is a big moment in this one. Of course, Sif took this tempo pass in round 1, remember. He was in control of this game from the start, and it's beginning to look like it's paying off for him. REDRAME's certainly missing some cards, but what a big moment here. That Axie also getting that heal value. Not just a Pella Jag, but a Pella with Witcher tendencies getting that reset as well. And he's got a bit of armor, just because why not?
I know, but we still love Pella. He's MV Pella. That definitely wasn't MV Professor, though, let's be real here.
It wasn't.
Oh, dear.
And the Horson Jr. coming, of course, not needing a boosted unit anymore, can just smack anything. Damage is a 6. Not going for the coins. If you kill something, for example, a 4, you would deal 6 damage and gain those 2 coins of excess that you didn't deal in coins. So you can use Horson as a way of gaining coins, but instead just going for pure value. It's just a 4-point game. Still pretty close.
REDRAME, he doesn't want to really go for coins at this stage because all of his spenders are boosting. And so then you're just playing into things like the Heatwave. So in that situation, you'd rather deal the damage than necessarily get the points. And so I think it's a fair use of Wholesome Jr., to be honest. It's still a close game, though. 39 points to 43. That's not a big difference. REDRAME, he's got a Jackal in pocket, but 3 Reckless Flurry charges, 4 Sif. So it's going to be a hard one to call, I would say.
And Lambert just being denied from the board. We can't see him, which personally, Jag, I think it's great. Even though I have a Lambert emote on my channel, just because I know Bane is going to be so upset about that. Horse being used as a suspender here. Now, what I like about this is REDRAME is just able to control not going over 7 points that he's already got, meaning he can deny the Heatwave some value. Siggy coming in for that full profit. It would be pulling the ship, but of course this Squirrel denied the ship earlier on in the round.
Yeah, that Lambert, he's just too hot. He's been officially censored in this matchup as the most attractive player on the board, in my opinion.
Really? I mean,
look at the cards on the board. Come on.
I think Professor's got a nice vibe going on, in my opinion.
You got some love for the Professor.
Yeah. Now, if we play the Fish Flapper, that would be the best looking card. But unfortunately, the Bear Witcher is more points here. Of course, the Fish Flapper would have been style points for sure. But the Bear Witcher coming in...
If he played the Fish Flapper, there would have been a pretty sexy fish on the board. Let's be real here. Oh dear, we've descended into madness.
This is another big payoff as well for this non-devotion SK deck. The Quen into the Bear Witcher. At the Adrenaline condition, you give the Bear Witcher the shield, and when the Bear Witcher damages itself by 3, it just breaks the shield, giving you 3 extra points. So the Quen is a nice 13-point play on this Bear Witcher for 10 provisions. So pretty good. And Sif still has the Kadooch, could play a Quartermaster, or the Church, as it's now known affectionately in the community due to Life Coach, and the Heatwave as well. 2 poisons for REDRAME, but this Hideout as well is able to move a poison from his side of the board. So can use this Trafficker for profit. What card will we see here? I have no idea, honestly. I guess the Salamandra Mage, and we're going to see a spend with her. We do see this.
We'll have to wait and see about roping, so you need to make some decisions pretty quick, REDRAME, about what it is you want to do. The poison moving, though, is really nice here because it means you can use the cut. I believe it's called the Fist Tech Trafficker. Sorry, you can use him to self-poison to gain money, and then just shift the poison over to the other side. And it means your opponent can't purify that poison because it's on your side until it's moved, and it's moved on the same time that you Fist Tech.
And actually, Sif, using his leader, he was able to line this Siggy up here and kill the Siggy, which would have denied a point from Intimidate on this Fist Tech. Instead, taking a second leader charge. Will we see a third? If he can clean up this Siggy, it is going to be an extra point. Does go for it. Doesn't find the Siggy. Does kill the Horson, though, which was one of the spenders available. But there's lots of spenders.
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 Sea Jackals. Jacques, I think, is still about, and then Horse is just away chilling, so, not really a huge issue. But 63 points to 45 here with 2 poisons for REDRAME. REDRAME, though, is going to have quite a bit of moolah at this stage, right? He's got a lot of money in the bank, but Kadak with the heal, you've got the Heatwave for 7 points, 39 to 67, 9 coins in the bank, a poison on a 10. Oh, it's going to be close.
And we are going to see the Trafficker self-poisoning for those extra coins. Will that be relevant? Because the Hideout is then going to be able to move the poison And it's so close. It's a tie, Jag. Unbelievable here. REDRAME, he's still undefeated in this whole tournament, but he has now drawn, so he's not completely flawless.
This is going to be really tough for Sif Great Wolf to find the cards he needs and find the strategy to turn this one into a win. But we go again as we get into yet another game. Sif Great Wolf once again on blue, REDRAME on red, as his name foretells. Mask of Urboros, Reckless Flurry versus Pirates Cove Syndicate.
Yeah, REDRAME, we talked about it in the last game, only had that one fist tech, so couldn't stay uninteractive for that long, but does have one in his hand now, so might be looking for that second. On the other side, Sif has the Maxi, which we saw him use proactively last time, doesn't have access to any discards apart from with the Mask of Ouroboros.
I love the way you say that.
Yeah, I don't know. I always used to call it the Mask of Ouroboros, but I know it's not called that, so I'm trying to, trying to redeem myself from the Belheim brothers.
What, by making like a real emphasis on it? It's like you put on an accent. You like suddenly stop being British when you get to that word. Honestly, it gives me life. So blue is deciding. I think this is the Maxi.
It is, yeah, and this means that the if confirmed, the Mask of Ouroboros is going to be drawing the Gremist. So option to change. We're not actually going to know exactly what happens, but we can pay attention once we see the mask. We'll know if this was kept or swapped. So if shuffled, Maxi is going to place a card at the bottom of the deck and then shuffle the rest of it. So you essentially thin the deck by one and rejumble the order. So we'll have to wait.
I think the sequence was decent. You know, it looked like you were going to draw into Mukvarg, into Burner, into Coral, all cards you needed for the strategy. I didn't see where Iced was is the only thing. Although actually, does this deck run Iced?
Yeah, no Iced in the Devotion, non-Devotion.
That's probably why I didn't see it.
Yeah. Of course, that's like a big payoff for playing these Devotion Blaze of Glory decks. And that is a big downside of playing Reckless Flurry, this non-Devotion. You get a Heat Wave, you get the Quen, but you don't get that Iced with the Blaze of Glory leader ability. So, yeah, it's been really interesting to see in this series already the two different approaches to both Skellige and Syndicate. And yeah, the Maxi was kept, Jag. Your prediction was correct because we do see the Gremist on top. Unless, of course, Maxi shuffled the deck and Gremist still managed to wiggle his way on top. And the Gremist is huge here.
I'm going to say no, that didn't happen. Like, when you're drawing into Gremist, you've seen you're going to draw into Coral, you're going to draw into Mukvarg, you're going to draw into Burner. Gremist is huge in this matchup, and you're going to get your discard package. So I feel like you just say no in that situation. No Lambert, once again, to deal with these pairs of cards. Cards. And it's like he was calling horse for somebody.
The bad news for REDRAME is that he doesn't have a second poison, and the Gremist being down. Now there's no alchemy cards. I do not believe in Sif's deck, so Gremist isn't going to be purifying anything else. But while there's only one poison in REDRAME's hand, there's also the hidden power of the Salamander Hideout, which is able to actually create its own poison. If you spend 1 coin, you get an Abomination, and then you could move the poison from the Abomination on. Same line taken. It is a tempo pass. Soul coming in from REDRAME here.
And Soul over 2 turns plays for 10 points. We see Casino Bouncers once again being played. And this is REDRAME just avoiding Lambert value time and time again. But this time, does he opt to play a 4th card? Or does he say, actually, I want to keep everything in my hand? I'd imagine he wants to keep his hand. The poison is nice. I don't feel like you want to throw away a poison, especially after you've already seen Gremist. But actually, he doesn't want Horse. He does not like Horse. He does not like the pairing with him and Ewald on the board at the same time. He prefers to thin the Redanian. So once again, we see him playing down to 4 cards, thinning his Redanian. And I imagine we're going to see a dry pass once again.
Yeah, and the Horse is a bit of a carryover play, because what that's now going to do, now it's in the graveyard, unless it gets squirreled, of course, it means Ewald is going to deal 4 damage as opposed to 2 damage. And 4 damage, usually a little bit more useful, but admittedly, against this Skellige deck, it shouldn't be doing too much. And what REDRAME has also lost is the option to play a single card in this round to get him a little bit more profit and some more carryover for round 3. So again, not ideal. This line from Sif is denying some carryover plays for sure from REDRAME.
Yeah, I mean, he could play a card. He'd just have to stay ahead, right, is the thing. The thing with the horse in the graveyard, which is quite nice for REDRAME, is that now Sif can't eat the Redanian and horse, so he has to make a choice, right? So it does mean that either your Ewald is better or you're going to get your Redanian flying out of the graveyard. So he's no longer in that position at least. But look at Sif's hand. That hand is glowing.
Yeah, so
what is his worst card?
It's an awkward one for sure. Caduce is a little bit of carryover, so I suppose that might be the card that is gone for. You could say that this Caduce is just playing a 5 provision card, and actually that you would just play it for the carryover value. I would imagine that's probably the conclusion Sif comes to here, but certainly just going to take his time here, not rush any decisions. I think the locks are great against Syndicate. The Gird is great for the Bloodthirst. Gird's just good.
Yeah. Yeah, and you don't want to play Geralt because Geralt, your whole thing is using his adrenaline to give a shield to a Bear Witcher, so he's actually huge tempo. But deciding Doragarey, that's an interesting choice.
Yeah, I don't love it. We did see in the last game that Doragarey was doing pretty well at locking the one of the. I'm just so conscious that I'm saying it wrong. The Belheim brothers, the. I still haven't got it nailed down.
Blainheim.
The Blainheim.
It's like
brothers.
Bane, but with an L. Blaine.
And we do see both the Blainheim
like Bane,
brothers
but with an L.
as well.
That's
And
how you got to remember it.
the Ewald also in hand could maybe line up. A Boris, all sorts of juicy cards. The Horson as well for REDRAME, a much more stacked hand compared to the last game. That is for sure. And the Sif, okay, he had to throw away one of his cards last round that he probably would have liked in this hand because, let's not forget, Coral is drawing and discarding. So she's going to discard that Morkvarg, but there's not going to be much control over the other card that is drawn. Taking a risky mulligan, finding the burner as well.
It's not a risky mulligan. He knows what he's going to draw.
You're correct. Of course, that's such a good point. He does. He knows exactly what's happening because of Maxi.
I mean, maybe he had to check his list, or his photograph that he took of the screen to see, what am I going to draw into. But I said he was going to draw the Verna, and lo and behold, there she is. And now Ewald has made his way from the sewers, making hay while the sun shines, basically saying, if you're going to eat Horst, I may as well play Ewald nice and early and deny you some value from your totem, which I really like here.
Oh, there it is. What a card to draw. That has just shifted the favour towards Sif. The Fish Flapper in hand. Admittedly, Fish Flapper from hand, not the best thing. Everybody knows the best kind of Fish Flappers are the Portal Fish Flappers. But I imagine we might unfortunately see the Fish Flapper being discarded and not gracing the board.
No, I would imagine not either. I can't deal with you calling him a Fish Flapper. Like, on the one hand, we have you saying the Mask of Ouroboros in the most, fancy way possible. And then on the other side of the coin, we have Fish Flappers. Like, this is what we get from a Specimen cat. And
maybe we might see the Scald discarded here. I do believe the ship has just been pulled from REDRAME, so the Squirrel is the most likely discard target with no Coral on the board anymore. The Scald's not doing... Oh, we see it discarded. The Squirrel kept... There's no ship as of yet.
The ship hasn't... I was going to say the ship hasn't been thinned, so you want to keep the Squirrel there and get that value. They've killed Ewald. Ewald's dead, so you don't need to eat Horst anymore. So the Squirrel doesn't eat Horse, it now eats Flying Redanians, apparently. But Roland, he's here. He's doing his thing, and he's not looking so healthy.
Yeah, and I like this decoction combined with the leader charge to just shut down the Roland there, using it as a control tool. Decoction being an alchemy card could have some synergy with Grimace, but really you're just playing it as a value removal tool. Foltest being a new card as well could be a target for that sort of thing, but combined with the leader charge also just cleans up. And the Gellar is looking a little bit more sad now. Before its adrenaline condition, you can boost many times. You can poison a unit and boost twice, but if you're boosting your horse and poisoning it twice, it's going to end up killing it. So we're only going to see a single spend here, unless the Sea Jackal's called for, as this is a really efficient spender. 2 points for 1 coin is no joke. You see both Jackals come in to give targets here.
Just poison everyone. Is a poison for you? Is a poison for you? Is a poison for you? Like, he's like the Oprah of poisons at this point. And just maximizing that value. And it's a really nice card when you're not playing against an opponent that has poison, right? That's where it really shines, because you can get away with these sorts of plays, and you're fine to play both your Sea Jackals, because that way you can balance your points, right? You're not going to have one really tall Sea Jackal. You're not going to play into Heatwave in the same way. And I just like this play coming out of REDRAME. It's really swish.
Yeah, seeing some really cool synergy there, and it's great to see this self-poison archetype. We're of course going to see the hideout moving one of these poisons later on as well. So not only are you getting 2 points for 1 coin, but you're also getting a poison when combined with the hideout. So really, really powerful play. You can certainly see why these brothers have found their way into REDRAME's deck.
Yeah, I love the thought that's gone into this deck, right? There's lots of these little nuances that all tie together to make this deck just really cool. Like, this is a cool deck. This is a Syndicate deck I would love to play, because it just looks like there's a lot of different parts going on, and I like decks that require you to think, you know, not brain dead decks, shall we say. And this seems like one of those decks.
So REDRAME just continuing to play cards. He's not going to want to go too tall, of course, with Heatwave and Axie being in Sif's hand. Of course, they are open deck lists, remember, so the players that do know the possibilities that could be in hand, and they will be playing around and respecting certain cards. And even though the adrenaline on this Gelart is gone, it still does have the option to spend, but only once per turn. So before the adrenaline condition, you can just use it unlimited times. But we can still see it being used once per turn and gaining points pretty efficiently.
I love that this card is called Gelart. It reminds me of, you know, that meme where it's like, Mom, can we get Geralt? And then it's like, your mom's like, no, we have Geralt at home. And then Geralt at home is Gelart. Oh, Gelart. Oh, dear. But look at this poison. This is insane. Like, so much poison. And it's just, you know, such a value card. You're getting so many points from this. And there's nothing really that can happen for Sif in this situation.
15-point game at the moment. 4 coins available for REDRAME. 1 leader charge, which is worth 3 points. Tool Punish is...
point difference.
The Tool Punishers are doing a little bit better than they were in the last game, for sure, but all these Witches in the deck, Gerd, Lambert, Bear Witcher, all pretty decent cards, but we're going to see the Bear Witcher as the card of choice due to that synergy with Quen that we talked about before. And that's how you know Bear Witcher's nice, when you're calling it in instead of this stinky Lambert.
Yeah, and do you try and RNG the 2 hits onto the Wholesome Junior? And you did, but I didn't get it, you know. I think that was just a little bit of a YOLO moment. And you're saying, like, yeah, the Toll Punishers are getting more value, but that's just simply because REDRAME has so many more points with the way that he's drawn this way than the last rounds. You know, bear in mind, there's still a poison to come out from REDRAME. We've still got Boris. We haven't seen Vivaldi Bank. There's 4 coins in the bank, speaking of banks. So there's a lot going on, and finally we see the location coming down here.
And the hideout as well, not only is it going to be using this poison, but it also gives REDRAME another really efficient spender. The Salamander Mage spending 4 coins to deal 6 damage is absolutely no joke. Added to that, it's also lining up the beautiful Boris, who is going to be dealing 3 damage. And if you get the death blow, you also gain 3 coins. So some very nice synergy there too.
Yeah, the adrenaline feature on that card just adding, you know, insult to injury in this situation. And 42 points to 32. We see Kadok, the Church of Gwent, now coming down in between those damage units, spreading them out just a little bit, setting up this Bear Witcher. It doesn't really matter where you put him at this point. There's that many damage units. Although maybe actually it would have been smarter to put him on the left just so you'd balanced your injured units.
There comes the Boris on the Morkvarg. Of course, Morkvarg is doomed. He's not going to come back. Could have been an Axie play maybe from Sif to deny this Boris as well. Didn't take that. And just left with 2 cards in hand and trailing by a very large amount of points. REDRAME still has the ability to move a poison onto this 8-point Bear Witcher as well and finish it up in 1 swift turn. I think REDRAME is taking this one. I think it's fair to say. And
yeah, you know what? I think Sif did really well in the first game to get that tie, because this is just one of those matchups that's just a bit sad, right? Gallagher, they don't have enough tools to deal with what REDRAME is putting out. REDRAME has 9 coins in the bank. He's 37 points to 26. And he's got Vivaldi Bank. He's got spenders on the board, you know, so he can figure out his profit. He needs 3 points. Like, sorry, 4 points. He needs 4 points. Like, this is not a close game. The last one came down to the wire, literally. And REDRAME, he's just going pedal to the metal, spending all his money, getting his Vivaldi Bank out, seeing what he draws into. Are we going to see Professor BM? Yes. Yes, we are. Here comes BM Professor. Will he target the squirrel this time, Specimen?
I'm gonna say no. He's gonna go for the Turgvi again. That'll be good banter. REDRAME.
No, he learned from his mistake. He learned from his mistake in the last game, and that puts REDRAME 2-0 up against Sif Great Wolf in this final series. The undefeated champion remains undefeated, but he has one deck left. He has Keltullus.
Giving an engine armor, and we are starting.
He's not going to draw armory now. You realize that?
Oh no.
It'll be right at the bottom of his list, and then he'll win, and then you'll never get to see armory. So double cross into Keltullus. I like this choice from Sif. Double cross has a lot of great targets in this matchup, so I like that he's kind of thought about this and gone for that. But will we see Masquerade Ball succeed with this new seditious strategy?
Yeah, I am pretty interested to see how this poison deck will fare against the Pirates Cove of REDRAME as well, because of course REDRAME we saw was benefiting from self-poisoning, so that is a scary matchup potentially for... Oh, we're not going to see that. What am I even talking about? We've missed that, so REDRAME's dodged the bullet on that one. That could have been quite scary for him.
One day you'll see it, but today is not that day.
He just needs to win with his Keltullus deck, and he has Siri Dash in hand, and he has Defender in hand, and he has an Aeromancy. This seems like a fantastic start for REDRAME. On the other side, though, Sif has that Purify for the Defender, and he has the Invo as well for the Siri. So answers, REDRAME has the cards, Sif has the answers.
Yeah, no armory though. We did talk about that, and I did say it's at the bottom of the deck, so we'll have to see what happens. I mean, in terms of REDRAME's hand, he's got a lot of the tools you want for round one. He's also got the Acorn, which is nice just because you want that in the graveyard for your Osril. He doesn't have the Beast, which is one thing. And I feel like this is maybe just a Purify check, right? And Sif Great Wolf passes the Purify check with flying colors.
Yeah, REDRAME must have been licking his lips when he drew these cards, but the fact that Sif has the answers is going to be so important in how this one pans out. If the Siri Dash does go through, it can completely change how the game is played. Now, Sif could also lock this Siri Dash usually, but because of the Crystal Skull stratagem, the Veil is going to deny that.
Yeah, it's one of these situations where the Crystal Skull is annoying because it's kind of like a workaround for Carapace no longer giving it Veil, right? That's your little workaround is, well, you know, I've got my Crystal Skull, so that's good. But it just plays into Sif Great Wolf's Invocation, and Sif just had the cards to shut down the Siri Dash from the get-go. So there wasn't really a whole lot REDRAME could do in that situation. So now he has to decide how he wants to play out the rest of this round.
And of course, REDRAME's going to have played this matchup many times in previous seasons where Masquerade Ball could be procced by spies, but probably hasn't had too much experience, apart from potentially in some scrims against this Masquerade Ball deck. And the Joachim just pulled straight onto that Siri, of course, guaranteed as Invo put it on top. And REDRAME is going to need to respond to this Siri and does have the option of either Heatwave or Immortus Wrath through his Aneromancy.
Yeah, it's just rude. Like, Sif is like, hey, remember that Siri you played? Wouldn't it suck if someone Joachim did? And you can get away with it now because you don't need Joachim for, you know, the Aristocrat. You know what you're drawing into here. And you're basically putting a lot of pressure on REDRAME because if the Siri Dash does survive, you're going to have a problem. And now you can only Heatwave it, right? The Wrath's not enough.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially with the shield as well, it doesn't have a convenient way of removing that shield. And of course, if you're REDRAME, you have to take this Heatwave. You're going to win the round, and you're also going to deny the Siri Dash drawing a card. But what it means is Heatwave's now gone, so Masquerade Ball is not going to be able to be Heatwaved, of course. So REDRAME most likely going to be forced into some sort of round 2 bleed here. Sif could try and resist that bleed by using his Masquerade Ball, but does need to draw it, of course.
Yeah, one of those things. You do have to find your cards, and if you look at the point differential, it's 6 to 24. So it doesn't really look like Sif is going to really be able to come back into this round, especially, we've got a little engine there for REDRAME as well, growing every turn. Like, REDRAME can afford to play a little bit slow at this stage and see what happens. But Sif, if he wants to come back into this, he's going to have to commit. He could maybe try to bluff a poison and see kind of what comes of that, potentially. But that might just force REDRAME into a pass, and then you still don't have enough points to catch up.
Yeah, and does also have the option of the coup on Joachim, but with Squirrel being a threat in these Kaltulis decks, that is a bit of a risky play, and doesn't decide to go for the coup. And takes the pass. Going to try and defend the bleed with the Masquerade Ball here.
So looking at the draws, lots of bronze for Sif. He's got a second poison, but he's also got a Nordsica Sergeant. He's got some seditious aristocrats. You don't want to see that. And then yet again, Emissary. 1 mulligan left. And he could potentially only draw 1 gold card this round. That's disastrous.
Far from ideal. On REDRAME's side, he has the Egon, the Nithral, the Phantom, the Kelly, Wrath and Beast available from the Aneromancy. And also the Purifier is going to be really nice as well to deny poison. Finds the Ozeril. Maybe not going to be super relevant this round, but it's still a juicy card for round 3.
Though. That is a juicy, juicy hand for REDRAME. He has, all the named characters. He's got Nithral, he's got Ikern, he's got Steve. That's Apier and Phantom, by the way. He's got Kelly. He's just got everything he kind of needs. And he's got a Neuromancy should he wish to go find Armory and, stop us from cursing him. Whereas Sif, he has a lot of tools that don't really fit together. He hasn't guaranteed his Masquerade Ball. He could maybe try to find it with Roderick, but it depends what he draws into. He's got Cantarella, but he doesn't, and Roderick doesn't deliver.
Yeah, just goes for that Roderick, and this Ramon is also bricked, so Ramon is not an option. Oh my! It's not bricked.
Nausicaa.
The Nausicaa. I was panicking. I thought we were seeing a 2-point Roderick here, just Roderick into a brick Ramon, but of course there is a Nausicaa that I brushed past. I'm very relieved to see, Jag, there is a Nausicaa, and the armor is going to protect it a little bit from the Nithral. No natural selection. That is a card that REDRAME had access to, but mulliganed. That could have been really nicer.
I think, though, if you're REDRAME playing Kaltulis, you're always happy to see, a play like Ramon, because it counteracts the spy that Sif put on your side of the board. This is the thing, like, the spies are kind of annoying when you're playing a Kaltulis list, because they can manipulate the board state a little bit. But when you're playing cards that spawn other cards like that, it does counter it a little bit. But then Emissary doesn't spawn a card. That's just going to boost. And that's really not what REDRAME wants in this situation if he wants to play Kelly this turn.
Yeah, and we're seeing the value of the Veil in this matchup as well, with the Phantom, the Nithral being given that Veil, meaning that they cannot be locked, of course, by Sif's Hunter. And, of course, these leader charges later on can deny poisons and things like that. So very, very powerful leader ability to help the Nilfgaard matchup. And Sif here does have the option of going coup on the Roderick to try and find Masquerade Ball, but doesn't have the double Aristocrat in hand, of course. This Usurper will be an Aristocrat, but not until the final evolution in round 3. Leader, though...
Yeah, so even going for Masquerade Ball at this point is not really that good because you don't have the Aristocrats.
Yeah, Leader could find a Neuromancy, which could be a way of proccing it. You could go Roderick into Ball, into Leader, try and find the Anero, and then play an Aristocrat to cycle it. But Sif just staying slow for the moment, trying to develop some engines.
Yeah, and REDRAME, I mean, if you look at the double cross, Neuromancy probably the best target. Kaltulis at the moment's not too bad, just because, REDRAME has a lot of units compared to Sif, but it's still a 9-point fine. But the rest of it, Ozrel's not even that great because you can't eat Ikern. You can't preemptively eat REDRAME's Ikern because it's not in the graveyard yet. And then the Purify, I guess you could remove a Veil and then lock. So actually the Purify's okay.
Yep. But certainly not the best leader value in the world. That is for sure. And REDRAME, with the engines developed, is just going to play another engine. Will he use a leader charge here on the Beast? Because of course that does deny points on the Beast growing, but it is going to play around the lock. Decides to save it for a rainy day.
You have a Purify, right? You don't mind. If he locks it, you just unlock it.
That's a very... Yeah, that's a great point. So REDRAME and Jag see the lines that I do not. decides to just, yeah, mate, you can lock my beast. It doesn't deny me any points at all because I've got my Purifier ready to go. And I'm actually just going to be playing 2 more points, therefore, while I've got my engines developed as well, because my Purifier card is 2 points more than the Hunter. Got my engines. I'm far ahead. I'm waiting to see that Masquerade Ball hit the deck, and then I'm going to pass.
Yeah, and REDRAME, he has the key to the beast's heart, right? He knows what the beast likes. Being able to unlock it there. And here comes the leader.
And no Aneromancy Jag.
Yeah. Out of 4 cards. Oh, you hate to see it.
And the Aneromancy also could have just been used, like...
It's been played. It's been played, actually. Yeah.
Sif didn't decide to go for the Roderick first, the coup onto Roderick to try and find Masquerade Ball and then lead it into Anero. Instead, just playing this early, and if he found Anero, which, as you mentioned, had been played, it wasn't an option.
So he couldn't have found it, yeah.
That could have been played in round 3 to tutor the ball. So really heads up from REDRAME by playing this Anero just before. Yeah. Play around this.
And look at this situation. 29 points to 42. The beast is growing. Steve is growing. Nithril is an engine per turn. 45 points now to 29. Sif, no Masquerade Ball. A couple poisons that can effectively be denied by leader charges. How deep is this round going to go?
I think REDRAME is not going to stop playing until he sees that Masquerade Ball. The longer the round goes on, probably the more he begins to think there might not be Masquerade Ball access. And therefore, if there's no Masquerade Ball, with REDRAME having all these engines developed, probably just fancies his chances.
He doesn't even want Masquerade Ball anymore, though, because he doesn't have Aristocrats. And are we going to see a Cantarella Armory? Is that how Armory is going to get played this game?
I would love that. That would be quite the turn of events.
I think that, yeah, I was going to say that would make your day.
Coming down.
So,
Masquerade Ball an option.
Roderick's
of course,
back,
there's no Aristocrats, but might just be trying to force REDRAME's hand and bait him into passing. Just takes this Fergus instead, and that's just a 7-point card. It is going to proc the deploys on the Nausicaas, but it's not doing anything. There's no coup available, so no synergy there. No Seditious Aristocrats.
No Thirsty Dames, where it's nice to put, those tags on because you're boosting them up. It's quite a sad coup de grace, really. Not really great. And you can see REDRAME, he's happy. He's going pedal to the metal. He's still playing cards. Pinging damage there with Nithril, meaning he's committing to the round. Could potentially just play the Pact at this point. Play nice and slow and can see what comes of the situation. If you take Keltullus and Osril into the next round, I think you're happy at that stage. And he didn't click the Aperian Phantom. That's worth noting, which means he maybe is considering playing one more card.
Mm-hmm. Beast's still going to be going up to 14 points as well. Still has the leader charges available. 14-point Osril. Keltullus should be doing quite a lot as well. If we see a poison, certainly would expect REDRAME to invest a leader charge to try and deny that. That is Sif's biggest weapon here. The double poison after REDRAME passes will play for a lot of points. Oh!
Yeah, but...
Big moment! Is it the armory?
It is! Oh, I called it. There you go. I blessed the RNG. Armory is here to boost units on Sif's side of the board. That's really not what Sif wanted to find in that situation. It's not really a spicy play.
Yeah, the carryover of armor isn't doing much here either, especially if round 3 never happens. The armory not looking too hot. And here, REDRAME, pedal to the metal. He says, have it. He plays both leader charges when double poison is hand.
So he's denying poison. He's basically saying, if I pass, you can't poison the 16. You can't poison the 15. So you can poison my 11, and I guess that's okay.
REDRAME smelling blood here. He can feel that open 2 qualification. He's so close. He's going to be making Gwent history by going flawlessly through the top 16 qualifier. Big moment. He thinks he's done it. Has Sif got the response?
I'm fairly certain at this point that he's done it. Right? You've got 20-odd points from the 2 poisons and then a usurper. And that 20-odd points doesn't even close the 72-point gap. Well, not the 72-point gap, but the gap. But, REDRAME's just taking the pass here. He's saying, I've got enough points. My beast is growing. My yeah, well, I guess my beast, that's as big as it's going to get. Here comes the follow-up poison. 53 plus the usurper with the Nausicaa's does mean I think we're going to round 3, so not quite a 2-0. I'm sad.
REDRAME did the maths
REDRAME.
on the fangs here, right? He said, look, if you've got 2 fangs, you're going to be poisoning an 11. It's not enough to get ahead. I'm going to force your last card. But while REDRAME has card advantage, he does, Sif, have the armory on the board carrying over to round 3. Will this be the difference maker?
The armor.
REDRAME's done
no.
it, Jag.
The answer is no.
REDRAME has gone flawlessly through. I don't know if we count draws. We're going to ask him in a minute when we interview him. Congratulations. He's made it. He's in open number 2. Very, very glad and happy to see REDRAME. Very well deserved. Shaping the meta while he does it. And also, he's running the Aretusa World Cup all at the same time, Jag. He's a very busy guy. Fair play to him. We are going to be interviewing him very shortly. And afterwards, we're going to be looking. We're going to be playing 2 more games. We're going to be seeing Sif a little bit later on. He's got another chance. He's not out. But we are going to be watching the losers bracket semi-final. Okay, guys, welcome back. We have been joined by the man that has just booked himself at his 2nd Open of the year. And he's done it in style, in flawless victory through the winners bracket. I'm pretty sure it's the first time it's ever been done. REDRAME, you might have some more insight. But thanks for joining us and congratulations. How are you feeling?
I'm still a little bit low on breath, honestly. Feel pretty good. Yeah. I definitely had more nerves from that series, especially because of how the SYSK went. I think originally, like that first time around when I got the draw, I was thinking that match would just be completely free. And then I just played it so badly that I almost managed to throw it. And also missed some cards. And it was like... honestly, I thought that his Skellige was my ticket to victory. So I was a little bit nervous since I wasn't as confident that I could beat the other decks, especially with the Keltolis. But the Nilfgaard pulled through for me. I guess I say that kind of... Not my Nilfgaard, but my opponent's Nilfgaard. So I might have been okay anyways, but it was just... It was a lot easier to, not lose that matchup for sure. Honestly, I felt like the first 2 decks would be almost free against that lineup, just because it felt like it was trying to punish greed. And I brought, Elves and Syndicate, which are just very good mid-rangey decks. I thought that the Keltolis would be a whole lot harder. So it was nice to always know that I could potentially beat the Skellige with it, just from... In theory, that Skellige list is pretty good against Kelly, but when we tested it, we kind of thought not really. So, yeah. Probably a longer answer than you wanted from me.
No, that's okay. Let's talk a little bit about the draw. The Professor greed onto the Twirsec, for example. That was a match where it came down. I mean, you did have some bad draws. Your brothers really weren't kind of being bros in that situation, but how are you feeling in those moments, and what was the thought process behind some of those decisions?
I think the thought process was that I forgot about the Axie because I was unhappy with the draws, and then seeing the Professor at the bottom, I went a little bit into tilt mode there, for sure. I just thought, okay, obviously this is the max value Professor once I play the horse in. Probably, it was easily the biggest mistake I would say I made all tournament in terms of gameplay. I don't really think there was so much a thought process as much as a mistake, because I think the odds of him having the Axie are just simply too high between the Quen and the Axie and the amount of thinning that the discard package gives you.
I wanted to ask you a little bit, REDRAME, about... I messaged you last night about elves and sort of the seeming came out of nowhere, but really, I have to ask you about Pirates Cove. So I played against you about a week ago, and you had a Curse of Corruption in your deck, and I was like, "What is this? What is going on?" I believe Colomon's actually brought that deck with Curse of Corruption. Yep. I do believe.
Yep.
And what about Pirates Cove is it that when you saw this change to the leader, why this leader, and why not line pockets?
Okay, so the leader I think honestly that's a very difficult question to answer because why not line pockets? I think line pockets is still extremely strong. However, I do think that line pockets loses a lot by building your deck devotion. I think I would actually, if I were to play line pockets, I would play it non-devotion, because I think that the main advantage of line pockets over Pirates Cove is that you can probably do better against Keltolis, just because you have the tunnel drill and you have the ability to actually coordinate your Philippa. If you try Philippa as like a tech option in Pirates Cove against Keltolis, a lot of times you end up with a 3 for 10. It's really, really bad. So I think that to me, Pirates Cove is the sort of leader that when you look at it, like line pockets is just so obviously good, and then Pirates Cove is really efficient, but it looks like it could be awkward. But then you like think about the math on it a little bit more, and it really is just that efficient. And it's also a lot more flexible than line pockets. Just because line pockets is a little bit front loaded, it doesn't give you as good of a long round. Pirates Cove just beats almost anything in a long round. It's ridiculous. Like between the Siggy and like the Professor and the reliable access to spending and the ability to not play too hard into tall removal because you have 2 Jackals and not just 1. Sea Jackal is just a very, very good card. It's even better when it's on your leader because in shorter rounds, which happen quite a bit if they bleed you, you can play the Siggy Reuven last play. If you have last say, a lot of times you can use the bleed to earn a card just because you have so many power plays. And then they just can't react to it. You just get a ton of points on the Sea Jackal. It's really, really good. Yeah.
Bang. Yeah, like I think it's really interesting, isn't it, how this simple change from having the second Sea Jackal to having the Prophet can just turn this leader from being seemingly unplayable. I did like a tier list of leaders and it was near the bottom. Whereas now just seemingly performing so well for you on ladder. And finally, Jay, there was one other question if you don't mind. Aretusa World Cup. You're a busy man, no? Like a very busy man, and not only have you been sorting out all the Aretusa World Cup, you've got Masters coming up for a lot of your Aretusa boys, and you've qualified for an Open. So tell us about Aretusa World Cup. How's that been managing all this?
Help. Please. World Masters was not part of the bargain. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm very happy that it's happening. And like it's super exciting. It's even more exciting that Life Coach is back. I had a little bit of a hand in that. And it's really, really cool to see him playing again. I mean, I don't really know what else there is to say about it. Like, honestly, I'm really happy. Like, more than anything, I'm really happy, but I'm not going to pretend that it's also not really stressful. Like, it's cool to see just so much going on in the Gwent scene. It just feels like things right now are really on the up and up. So I'm willing to do whatever work needs to be done, but World Cup in particular has been hard just because that event by nature, like, it really demands your full attention, especially since Santu and I were planning to do it all by ourselves. We might need to bring more people in, just because we have so many people casting. It's kind of crazy. And we also just have a lot of people coordinating games. Like, obviously, every single casting session is going to be 6 players. So the casters pretty much don't get to choose the times at that point. So we kind of just have to shuffle people around to find someone that works. It's yikes.
Yeah, and it starts tomorrow, correct? Begins tomorrow.
Yes, it does.
So we've got that.
On the plus side, you don't have to play top 64. So you've made your life slightly easier.
Or losers bracket either. You're done for the day. You can put your feet up and. Well, hopefully you can relax. I'm sure you've got lots to do for the World Cup. But yeah, congratulations again, REDRAME. We're going to be watching the losers bracket semi-final shortly. So we're going to have to let you go. But it was great to have you on. Congratulations and really excited to see you in Open too.
Yeah, thank you.